But nothing's burst, nothing's breaking.
It usually bursts,
The automated cat boxes wouldn't work this morning, that was 20 degrees in there.
so, we've lived there 30 years, and this has never happened. It's been a lot colder than, it's been 20 below. So,
Oh, sorry.
Well, we've had quite a few days below zero. And our weather station has been consistently minus 14, minus 16, it was almost minus 17 last night.
Is that access?
call this meeting to order. It is now 5:30, January 21st, 2005. We'll start the meeting with a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Winkie, Mr. Maury, Mr. Yago,
Present.
Mr. Fulton,
Present.
Mr. Nordike, Mr. Wilhelm,
Present.
Mr. Domboski.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. And recognize visitors. Start right there.
Kevin Lomas, 1570 County Road 305.
Jerry Peters, 409 South Fifth.
Back.
Mike Whitstein, I'm from 2933 County Road 103 Florence.
Paul Boson, Commissioner, District 2, Custer County.
Jackie Bean, 201 Rangeview Drive.
Bear Keane, 221 Bull Domingo Lane.
Well, welcome. I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda. I note that there have been some minutes changes from November and December. I've read those. That they meet my motion.
I'll move that we consent agenda.
It's been moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Bob moved it. Chuck second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under old business, consideration request to approve the master plan for the planning commission's recommendation. Mark and Melanie, did you want to take that? Where's Melanie? Oh, that's right. Mark, did you and Melanie have that on here as something you're going to discuss? The master plan?
I was at the last meeting, but
We recommended that it be sent to the board,
yes.
and there's just a couple of changes that were in there. We need to add a map, that I'm still trying to find. The library changed a little bit of their paragraph, and everything else has been finished, that we agreed on.
We hear back from fire departments.
Yes, right, I was saying,
That's okay, good.
it's all updated.
Did you get the missing graph after public schools?
Yes,
And there was another missing one too. Existing zoning map?
that's the one I'm trying to find.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the digital map of the zoning. I'm still trying to sort through previous people's stuff.
That was the only major thing that I saw.
I've got a couple things here. I'd like for us maybe to do something where we can discuss with the state or whoever it is about a deer problem around here. You know, I mean, it's not very nice to see dead deer laying all over the road and also landscaping all tore up. And then there was the thing of under mission on page 3. I was wondering if we ought to insert something about the part of the Rockies Medical Center. We were trying to, work more with them for services and availability of the slide and things such as that.
I actually think the clinic is doing that. They have a lot of doctors who come here now, like once a month for a clinic or whatever. But we could certainly insert that, and I suppose that's not that much of a. You wanna craft something with Melanie in terms of a sentence or two? We don't have to do it here. You can do it after the meeting.
I'm sorry, did you?
You could craft a sentence or two to put into the document.
Oh, okay, with Melody, you said it? Oh, okay,
Go under if we wanted to add it.
okay, and then, same thing about the deer?
Yes.
Okay.
Where did the deer go?
I don't know.
I don't know where the deer
Here, but,
Hopefully they'll move out of town, the
I
deer.
think it's a deer, I think it's a silverfoot problem, and they should put a fence up or something.
Well, I got 10 deer that are literally hanging around my house.
We all do.
Yeah, we all do.
We're in the West.
We all do.
All right, then. I'll
So,
accept a motion to approve the master plan, unless you have something more.
hang on, I wrote down a whole bunch of notes here and I cleared most up and for myself. Well, I won't bring up the amphitheater.
Very good.
Okay, that's it, Paul.
Okay, very good. I'll accept a motion to approve the master plan.
Lots of meetings on that. We did a nice job, and there's gonna be things that we missed possibly, but it's.
We left room to be amended though.
Oh, yeah, it's always be, because it's just basically a wish list for down the road.
No, I meant with the, make the motion with the amendments, correct? Is that what you're meaning?
Well, we can't, I mean, that's up to you. I was just saying that the document left room to be amended later, like quarterly, kind of, that we would
Yes,
review it.
that's a big thing that we added,
Oh, okay.
is the quarterly.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I
The
saw
planning
that,
commission
yeah.
will review it and see where we are, update it, anything that's been done, completed,
Yeah.
and then any new things happen in the
In fact,
community.
actually, those things, you wait till your next quarter if you want,
There you go.
as long as it's, it's fun to get it out there. Sure.
Well, thanks for reminding me of that, Mel.
Is that a motion to,
Yeah, I move that we approve the
Yes,
the master plan.
I'll second it.
moved in second, discussion? I'll say one thing, I'm on the planning committee and it's clear to us, clear to me anyway, as the mayor, that we don't refer to the master plan often when we're doing our budget, but we should have, a meeting well before we start crafting the budget about what of the master plan do we want to fund this year. Maybe not, it may be a project that takes more than 1 year, but we should embark on it so that we're following the master plan and that we are spending monies that the citizens have voted to give us in terms of the capital fund to pursue all of this. So we will work that into, and, I'll work with Aaron on it to get it before we start the budgeting process, so we know what we're talking about. We probably should go to the board, and we can pick it apart. This is what we want to do, can't do this, then can't do that, but at least have a healthy discussion on that.
Yeah. In fact, we'd actually discussed this, I don't know if you were here or not, but about having the board get together way before the
Yes.
budget.
Yes,
So,
I was, so,
okay,
all right. So
So I
with
think,
that,
oh, that's the intent, but the quarterly, and no, he's already put it onto her calendar to put it on our agenda to review it on a quarterly basis.
very good. Okay, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Second item, item B, consideration request to approve ordinance 1-2025, amending the town's fee structure, amending park use fees. This is just for the new park fees. We've taken out the affordable housing waivers, which we didn't do that last month. So we need to be approved now because usage is beginning. So have you reviewed the fees? I did this afternoon. They seem acceptable.
Yeah, how much of an increase was it on the fees from the old ones? Approximately.
Luff was 300, now it's 400. And the other parks, it's $25 up to 50 people, and then $40 for 50 people and above. That's the only change.
And that's also gonna be for the farmer's market too,
Depending on where they're gonna
where
be.
they're gonna be.
Yeah, that,
Okay.
that would apply to Just Price.
I just wanna mention one thing, when we had the parade down here, people were just walking all over that park. Everywhere, through mulch,
Jeff Price, you mean?
yeah, just price.
Yeah, the gardening club is aware of that.
Yeah.
And we communicate with
Yeah,
them.
I heard from you.
Yeah.
From him, and
They know that corner, the southwestern,
Yeah.
near the potties.
Also,
That's the worst one.
Neil tells me you also have people not cleaning up after their animals, which is one of the reasons that had to be done in the first place. And we have that in the Bluff Park. We have it in every park, I think, right? Neil?
Yes, sir. There's not even supposed to be pets in the gyms. Yes, Price Park.
How do you patrol it? How do you keep it out?
Right, I mean, but there's signs that say no pets allowed.
That was pulled down in December.
Oh, was it?
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Well, done by us or by some unknown person?
By us, in November, actually.
Also, I just noticed something too at Just Price Park, the sandstone is starting to crumble. So,
And there's a gutter that needs fixed on the building.
oh, okay, I didn't see that, I just saw the sandstone.
Anything else? I'll accept a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the, new,
Park use fees.
park use fees ordinance number 1-2025.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and second. Further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Under new business, I'm gonna skip over something real quick and go to item B. As you know, George has resigned, George Maury, and I need a new mayor pro tem, and I've talked to all the board members. And they all suggested it should be Mark. And so Mark is the new mayor pro tem. And do we have that sign? Melanie, mayor pro tem?
Yeah,
Do we slide it?
yeah, we do. Is it on
It's
George's?
no longer just a trustee. So,
$5.
Do I get a luxury seat?
you can reseat or whatever you want to do.
Hey, these are new seats.
Yeah, you have to pick the argo out, so,
Oh, gee.
or you can move there if you want.
It's up to him.
I'm fine here, it
Very
doesn't
good.
matter.
We can do it later. Very good. All right, I can, it's shaky here, but I can get through a meeting. Anyway, a new business, presentation by Custer County Workforce Housing Committee with updates on housing needs assessment. Barry, you're up.
Barry Keane, and I'm with the Custer County Workforce Housing Committee. Just to explain who we are, I want to read our mission statement real quick. It's brief. It's Custer County Workforce Housing Committee, or the mission is to research and provide documentation to policymakers on methods to provide and sustain housing opportunities for local workforce with respect to the economic and cultural nature of Custer County. We believe in maintain a vibrant, functioning community. High quality housing is essential for the Custer County workforce. So we are a committee that is under the auspices of the county. We're the only county's committee that has the express charter to deal with workforce housing. But workforce housing is a valley-wide issue. And I provided in your packets, or the Melody and Aaron provided a document like this. I'll briefly talk about it, but it's not something we're going to go through tonight. It's more an example. We collect information, investigate it, and disseminate it with our observations and sometimes recommendations to policymakers, people like yourself. The handout includes that I gave you a few critical pieces of accurate information that we find most people don't know. And I've sat in meetings right here where it's very clear people didn't know a lot of these statistics. Our collection of workforce housing is extensive, and we seek broader dissemination. We'd like to engage more with you. We'd like to continue to expand our information sharing with Westcliff. What you do affects beyond your boundaries. And conversely, you're affected by activities that go on beyond your boundaries. We have awareness of many of those things. Your previous town manager attended our meetings and found them substantive and useful. I'll cite an example in a minute. We have the Silver Cliff building and zoning guy and the county planning and zoning person who attend our meetings as well. So there's a lot of cross information being exchanged. The housing needs assessment that the three jurisdictions at being Westcliff, Silver Cliff, and the county are collaborating on is getting underway right now. In fact, Aaron and I this afternoon were dialoguing with our principal at the company that we've chosen, and we were expecting their counter contract today, or in very short. I don't know if you heard any more before you came in from them.
I printed out what Elliot sent.
Oh, he did. Okay, since the time I left, he did. We don't need to send that out, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. It's an important example of cross-jurisdiction awareness and cooperation, and it's key to the future. And we'd like to see that expanded. And to that end, to give you a sense of who this group is, we have a county commissioner. Luke Zepp is our liaison officer. He's a voting member. We have a Silver Cliff town trustee. We have the executive director of the Upper Arkansas Area Council of Governments. We have the superintendent of schools. We have a board member of Round Mountain Water, among others. And what we'd like to do, we had been dialoguing with Caleb, and you don't have anybody in that position right now, and maybe won't for some time. But what we'd really like to do is have a town trustee on our committee. And I'd like to have Bob Fulton. Bob has stood in.
All of my people.
I'd like to have him. What you do is your business. I'd like to have him. And the reason is Bob has sat in on every single housing needs assessment meeting from the very beginning, the first reviews with the people, contract stuff, our review of the due diligence that Isaac Selden, Aaron, and myself did on the contractors before we selected one. And I think he's highly qualified, and he engaged. He not just sat in, but he engaged and contributed. That's what we need on this committee. And I think the town of Westcliff needs to have a person on our committee. That's why I came.
I don't disagree with that. Now, we're here really to select a contractor who's bid right for the housing.
No,
We already did that.
no, we're past that, sir. we have selected that. That was done back on the 7th of January. We then had a subsequent contract conversation with them on the 14th.
Yes, I did that. I guess it was here. But I thought there was, a shortfall of money.
No,
That's not on this
no,
part.
not at all. No, there's a
Excuse me,
grant.
excuse me.
I'm sorry.
What were we talking about this
The
afternoon?
IT services.
Hmm.
Was
I
what
thought
we
it
were
was, I
talking
thought it
about.
was for the housing needs assessment. Okay.
You and I were talking about the
Okay, very
IT
good.
contract, yeah.
All right, so, so Barry, you're updating on all this. I think it's important. I think it's important that the needs assessment gets done as quickly as possible because we continue to go on planning for workforce housing here in Westcliff. We're gonna need that data. And I appreciate all the work you do on that. And Lucas and Bob and whomever is attending. If Bob wants to serve on that committee, then I will appoint you to serve.
Thank you.
Until we get a suitable replacement. Okay, very good.
Thank you.
I don't mean to cut you short,
No, that's fine.
but I think it's a good briefing that you did.
Got what I wanted.
Okay, very good. Oh, what was that, for him to be appointed?
Yeah. So what's next, Barry?
May I answer?
Excuse me?
Mark asked a question.
Yeah, what's next?
So in the timeline on a housing needs assessment, the next thing we do, we have to finalize this contract. We went back to them, detailed out some key deliverables that we wanted to see listed in the contract. They're refining their contract and Aaron has the later copy, it literally came in this afternoon. We settle that goes off to the town's lawyer to let him bless that. And at that time, then we set a kickoff date. Right now, I have on my project planner for this, I've estimated February 17th. That's pretty early in the sense that we pressed these guys pretty hard about getting in there, but I think we might pull that off, and we have to work with a lot of people because there's many people that need to attend that kickoff that we'll have to coordinate with. But I press hard now, Mark. I've done a lot of project management in my lifetime, not housing, but other stuff. And every time I've seen something end up late at the end, it was late at the beginning. And so I like fires at the beginning, and that's what's going on. So that'll be an on-site visit, a couple days with these people from these. There's actually 2 companies that are collaborating, and they'll be here to talk with townspeople. And then there'll be other visits after that going on that will deal with the community, messaging to the community while we're working on the technical side of it as well. And the due date is June 1st for the final. Sorry, I could have told you that.
Right. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Barry. Appreciate it. And you're welcome anytime. Item C, discussion of chip sealing or paving town roads. I'm gonna kick off this discussion, but Neil is gonna be the one who carries it through. When we first got the 1 cent increase in sales tax for the infrastructure, the goal was to pave our 10.5 miles of streets every year, or not, once every 5 years. Some need it more, some need it less, depending upon usage, more frequently, I should say. And then Neil had a conversation with me that said maybe that chip seal is not the best long-term solution, but paving is with asphalt. So we talked about it, and I agreed to bring it to the board, and Neil's got, we do have budget monies planned this year for chip seal. So Neil's gonna bring that to us and talk about the benefits of doing paving versus chip seal. Neil?
Thanks, sir. Budgeted this year is $250,000 for estimated 2 miles of chip seal. Chip seal is a nice way to try to keep your pavement intact by a thin coat of tar asphalt mixed with little rock chips put on top of it. It does 2 things. It tries to hold and bind it together and put a water coat sealant over top to try to keep the water from getting underneath the pavement, breaking it all up. Typically, your chip seal will only last about 2 to 3 years, depending on your weather. Weather here is not very good for chip seal or pavement because of, snow plowing. We tend to knock our chips off, which now also peels off a thin layer of that, new top coat. The temperature changes causes frost heaves, which causes cracking and potholes. The water that gets into it from the snow melt and refreezing damages it even more every thaw and freeze cycle. The rain that comes in, the water gets underneath that roads or in them cracks because the chip seal doesn't permanently hold it together. It's basically just a Band-Aid. So the chip seal roads that we've been doing since I've been here, the last 3.5 years, some of those roads that we done when I first got here, you can't even tell we chip sealed them. They're that bad again already. Cracks in the road, potholes are surfacing, things of that nature. If you pave it, it does cost more. We can't do as much. We can only do approximately 1 mile versus the 2 mile. It lasts though 5 to 10 years, depending on how well the asphalt material is that we get in, how well the crew packs it down, and how well the surface is holding up underneath it. So if we can get pavement, it's just an overlay on top of, just like you would do chip seal. We're not tearing up the whole road and putting new pavement down. That would be a lot more money. It's just an overlay. And it would save our roads by 10 years. And the other benefit you get from paving is instead of a surface continuing as it is, like a dirt road, you got dips and humps and bumps and swales and big potholes that are forming. That stays there with chip seal. It doesn't fix the road. All it does is put a Band-Aid over it. Pavement is gonna fix it, reshape it with the crown so the water runs off, and put a thicker mat down, which is gonna make your road smooth and surface like your tables. So it's up to the board on what they wanna do with their budget of $250,000. Last year's 2 miles of chip seal cost us $310,000. So we're still working on the bid process for chip seal and the bid process for pavement. So far, I've got 2 bids done on pavement. We can get about 3/4 of a mile done with $250,000. If we go a little over 330,000, I can get almost a whole mile done. So it's up to you, sir, and crew on what you want to do for your town.
Now, is a whole mile both lanes or just one?
Both lanes.
Okay.
You're right. When they're figuring it up, it's a lane mile. That only one direction on your wide road. So it's both lanes, both directions. So I've been getting quotes for 3rd Street between Main and Rosita, 2nd Street between Main and Northern Avenue, which is where the trailer park is. The section from the bowling alley across Adams, the dip over to the mailboxes at Jerry Drive, that's 810 feet or 860. And then also to get our school road that's used a lot, 10th Street from the highway here, down around the corner to the, connect onto their parking lot at the end of the building where the curb and gutter is. So it'll go right to there.
So are these,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
are these the spots, Neil, you think need the most attention?
I do.
And you're saying we could do 3rd Street, we could do in front of the school to Jerry Drive, or across from the bowling alley,
Yeah, bowling alley across to Adams there to Jerry Drive. Yes,
and
sir.
then in front of the school, and there's a 4th one, wasn't there? 2nd Street.
2nd Street.
Okay, will that go all the way around to north?
It will go to North Avenue. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So between the movie theater, down to north to the bowling.
Seems like that's always hard to keep, it's just that road, I don't know whether there's.
Sinkholes,
Yeah.
water problems, I think, is what it used to be. I believe they're fixed. But the reason we picked those roads are deteriorating. There's large cracks, little bitty spider cracks that chip seal is great to fix. The large spider cracks, is separation of the pavement where it's failing. That's where the water does the most damage on the frost and thaw cycle. So we'd like to get those fixed so that road stays together and not fall apart.
So basically, twice as expensive, but last at least twice as long. if
Three
not more.
times as long typically, 3 to 4 times as long. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've always been in agreement of.
We're gonna have to look at doing something with the alley on the north side of Second Street too. Cause that's just a sheet of ice and it doesn't drain properly and so forth, so.
It would still be a sheet of ice whether you chip seal it or pave it.
Right, I know.
It's,
But there's something else we have to do with drainage.
building drainage is what you gotta figure out.
Yeah.
The water drainage.
Okay, any further questions?
That's my only question, Neil, is walking the other day and the cracks it all depends on how well the paving company is. And in order to, so that chip seal crack, or existing crack doesn't migrate up through the new asphalt within a year or so.
Yes, sir. I've asked for CDOT quality paving bid. So the same quality that the Department of Transportation uses here on state highways. It's high traffic, it's high volume, and it's also to accommodate the weight of larger vehicles and stuff like that. So we're asking for that quality of pavement to be put down on our streets to last that 5 to 10 years.
Do you see any difficulties where we put curb in?
Typically, wherever there's curb and gutter, the current road would have to be rotor milled down just a little bit to, they lay a loose 2.5 inches, 2 3/4 inches, and then they pack it to CDOT standards as well. That compaction is what's gonna make that road last a long time. But once the compaction is done, it will be level with the curb and gutter within a 1/4 inch.
So that would be part of the bid then, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Round Mountain might have a few thoughts on the matter, huh? Manhole covers and stuff.
Yeah, Third Street, you know.
Manhole covers are included. They make sure the rotor mill or paving process, they'll still have access to that and maybe a little recessed. For snow plowing purposes, it's better to be recessed than level or above the blacktop.
Sure.
Tears up machinery if it's above or level. So you can still access it for Round Mountain water. We'll make sure it's still found and usable.
So would it be helpful for you, Neil, to know this today, or?
It will be in the bidding process because all your summer contractors that are getting ready to line out paving, they need to get lined out and bids in. And then if you want them to do the work, they need a answer by the 1st of March to try to get some kind of, summertime is the best time to do paving around here. We know July is our busiest year for visitors and events that go on at the bluffs. So we're trying to ask them to work other than July. And if they've got other projects in the area, it saves us on money because they'll be up here doing other projects. So they've already got a couple of bids. They're doing stuff in Silver Cliff. We've got Adams and Powell being done to connect that. I believe it's getting done this year, so they may be up here already for that as well.
Any questions?
No, we just like what he's saying, chip seal isn't gonna last.
I'm with you.
New pavement over, it's the best thing you can do.
Oh, we have a question.
Yes,
Question, Kevin Wellman, 1570 County Road 305. Has a blended solution been considered, like paving some and then chip sealing maybe roads that aren't as bad?
The batch mix that they get is a blended solution from old pavement versus mixing with new stuff, but it still has to meet their requirement for
So,
paving.
To clarify, it's like a blended solution of new paving and chip sealing some roads been considered?
No, because the budget's only 250,000. Most of the time, if you get a contractor to do one, it's gonna cost you that or more to do either or. So they don't really wanna try to mix or blend it.
Gotcha. Okay.
I have asked them to do that. It takes different equipment, different people, so you have to stockpile those chips and get the oil in line and all that stuff, so that it takes more manpower, more timing. Therefore, we don't have the money for it.
The chip sealed road, streets in the town other than just south of Herman, correct?
Correct.
Well, Seventh Street is not surfaced, and is Third Street surfaced?
No, sir, it's been skipped for the last 3 years.
Those are the only two roads in town with which I have any familiarity, that are not surfaced.
I think 90% of all roads in the past 3 years have been chip sealed. So there's just a few that have not been.
Another one, Paul.
The 10th Street, just so you all know, that was chip seal on top of dirt. It's falling apart already, and we got to either recoat it with another layer of chip this year or put a layer of asphalt on it. That's why it's on the list. Anybody else have a question?
Yeah, if it's $250,000, only does 3/4 of a mile, and it lasts 10 years, and you have 10 miles, you won't get all 10 miles done in a 10-year period at 250,000 a year. It seems to me the budget's gotta be higher.
Well, we'll have to, our budget's already been put together, and we're trying to do this within our budgeted monies for this year. And so we'll have to sit down with Neil next year and define more clearly what we need to do, and then put a number in that meets that. So, we don't wanna go outside of our budget, so.
Because of previous projects that were going on, like Rosita Road, doing the curb and gutter and repaving, some of these roads are fairly new pavement on them. So not all roads need paved.
But you're right. So I mean, obviously, if we try to get everything, keep them in shape over a 10-year period, we're gonna have to invest more. But we just have to look at it from that standpoint once we get closer, so.
And all that's in our 5-year capital plan too.
Yes.
Budgeting so much per year.
So we'll probably have to change that, but anyway, that's why we're starting now, staying within budget. And when budgeting time comes next year, we'll look at it again.
That's all I need to know with the budget, if you want to go paving or you want
I
to do
think you
chip
stay
seal.
within budget if we can, and I don't think we need a resolution to approve this. We're just changing. We're not spending any more money. We're just changing what we're gonna put down. We never did, when we did the budget, we didn't talk about, I guess we didn't talk about chip seal. I don't remember.
Just chip seals everywhere.
So we'll just say, we're gonna pave instead of chip seal. I think that's okay.
And after 1 year, it all falls apart. We
Right.
find out we're not gonna do it anymore. Let time tell.
Everybody okay with that?
I am.
Okay. very
Thanks,
good.
Neil.
Thanks, Neil, appreciate it. Next item D, consideration request to contract for IT services for 2025. I guess I did get confused over what we're talking about there. Thanks, Aaron. Go ahead and do it.
So there's 3 proposals in your guys' packet. I've looked at all of them, spoken to some of them, and I think Complete Business Systems would be the best. Round Mountain uses them. It is over budget by $1,000 for the year. But we are saving money on our communications manager contract. That is $1,000 less than it was last year. And CBS, they're very comprehensive, have 24-hour assistance. Initially, they'll come here for free, look at all of our devices, make recommendations on if we need to update things. And they're very strong with cybersecurity, which is important. So.
Explain, in broad brush strokes, everything they're gonna do or why we need all this.
So they'll make sure all of our licenses for like Microsoft Office, Excel, all those are up to date. He did briefly look at some of our stuff free of charge. It did make some recommendations. Our Microsoft Office is very outdated and it's not a business model. So like I said, they'll come here physically, look at everything with no travel expenses. And then anytime we need help, anytime something's down, their help desk is here in Colorado. They're willing to come up here. And again, the security is important since we do have local elections and voter information. Check.
Where are they coming from?
They are,
Yeah, Arvada.
yeah, Arvada, yeah.
For-
But they're here in Colorado and they do come here once a year at least to annually look at all of our devices. I spoke to Round Mountain and they highly recommend them, so.
How long have they been with them?
It's a long time. Randy, do you know?
I don't remember.
Yeah, a
I
long
think
time.
I thought it was 1986 is what I read
Yeah,
in the document.
We just had them upgrade our security system. on the
Yeah, but
computer.
I don't think we've had them that long, but yes, they completely went through everything.
New firewall.
yeah.
Brand new firewalls and
You know, our computer systems, sometimes they go down and it's a whole day we're down and, you know, we can't get any work done. So for them to be able to be here, also to come in virtually and look at everything and do the scans, it's worth it.
Any further questions?
Just out of curiosity, Aaron, do they, does that company deal with the now required access issues to allow access to your website for?
ADA,
Yeah,
They don't. We have a different company helping with that. That was a separate budget item from just IT services.
just curious.
Yeah.
Further questions?
I'd just like to say that because I read through all three proposals and that was what I came up with. They were strongest and they've been in business since 89.
89.
89, yeah, so
Yeah,
thank
so
you
they're
for
around, wow.
doing that homework.
Right. Computers didn't exist before 89.
The size of this table.
Yeah. They were. Okay, very good. I'll accept the motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve Complete Business Systems as our IT department.
And I'll second that.
Been moved and second. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item E. Consideration of a request to update bank signature cards, removing Kathy Rice and adding new mayor pro tem. Aaron?
So we would just need to go down to United Business Bank and put Mark on there since he's the mayor pro tem and then removing Kathy. So it's just a administrative hoop to jump through. George was on there so he can
Right.
sign checks if he were out of town. So that's it.
So that's just,
Get hold of me.
Yeah.
That's unsuitable.
Yeah.
I guess we have to approve that in motion.
I make a motion to make the changes to the bank signature cards as described.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Then moved and second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. F, discussion of SB 24-131 prohibiting carrying firearms in sensitive spaces. Aaron?
So part of my job is to keep up with the bills that come through that the state approved, and this one recently was passed, prohibiting carrying firearms in sensitive spaces. Town hall is considered a sensitive space. However, towns can opt out of this and cite an ordinance allowing citizens to carry. A kind of issue to look at is this conference room is considered our courtroom, unlike most places where your courtroom is separate, has a metal detector or guard. We don't have court cases here much. We've had one.
2 in the last like 15 years.
It's just something to just consider. So, right now I just put discussion. You guys, once you figure out if you want to go with the House bill or opt out, I'll draft that ordinance have Clay look at it, and then we can have it on the following month's agenda.
Sorry, what do you mean? Going with House bill implying what?
So if you want to comply with 131, we would be prohibiting
Okay.
carrying firearms in town hall. Or you can opt out.
Right.
That would be a different ordinance, so.
So it's not just firearms, it's also everything that they consider a prohibited weapon.
Yes.
I talked with Aaron about this today and the question is, how do you actually control it, or what if a person has a gun in their pocket? You can't really, how do we do that here? And I noticed, how do you guys do it in the county?
So the county did a resolution to accept part of it. So open carry is now out. Concealed carry, you still have to go through a permit process, you still have to go, and that's gonna get very, very strenuous through another bill that just got passed. So you can still carry concealed other than during election time. Now during elections, all guns are out, but if you see it, you can call the cops, have them come in, but that's your only enforcement, is you call the cops.
I noticed that the courtroom has a monitor, detector, and they had an officer sitting there.
Yeah.
So that's an extra expense, obviously. So you could carry in a courtroom then, concealed carry?
Not in the courtroom, in the county offices. That's the problem with both those buildings being together.
Yeah.
One's a courtroom.
Yeah.
With the court offices, and then one's the county offices. So
Yeah.
it's just in the county offices. You can still carry concealed. But, can't carry open anymore
Okay.
for this bill.
Clay is on Zoom. if you
Oh,
want it.
Clay, are you listening to this discussion? I'm sure you are.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any advice to us? For us?
The advice is you can do, it's up to the board. I had previously drafted the firearms and public buildings ordinance based on prior discussion that you should have. I don't know if it's I don't see it in your packet. But maybe I'm just not looking close enough.
They're in there.
It's in there. Okay, so my advice, it's really up to what culture, you guys want to have for your town. Some towns are opting out as much as they can, which includes basically everything except for like schools and courthouses. There's a couple other exceptions, and then some towns are accepting and basically opting into no carry in any public building whatsoever. So it's kind of up to the board to decide. You have where you have discretion, the ordinance that I included, let me pull that up again. Where you have discretion, the ordinance that I included gives you that discretion, at least the copy that I'm looking at. I know the previous town manager had multiple other copies, but the one that I drafted is 24 ordinance, what I have labeled 5/2024. And it's really up to you guys. You guys have the authority, Mr. Mayor, and I'm if you ask me a personal opinion, I think some of this might get overturned on Second Amendment issues, but the rest of it, whatever you can opt in or out of is just going to be a choice of the board.
So far, there haven't been any challenges, right?
No, sir, not yet. It's just one of those, rumblings. I think the town has the authority to do whatever they want in the public buildings. Some of that extends a little far in this is the argument. Again, the ordinance that I wrote allows you to opt out to the fullest extent allowed. And then it just has the required inclusion of the municipal court and And then gives the exception for law enforcement, which I think is the cleanest way. That basically wouldn't change existing law within Westcliff as it stands at the moment. And then if that room you're sitting in now is transformed as it is from time to time for a municipal court session, then that room would be, you would be precluded from carrying a firearm in that room unless you're law enforcement.
So Clay, you've got several proposals in here,
Well,
right?
yeah,
Toward the end of the packet.
I just have the one.
I have two. SB 24-131 and then another one called 2-2025.
This is Clay's ordinance here.
This one.
Yeah.
Well,
I did a quick, what page of the packet is that in?
120 or.
Yeah, I've got it open on a PDF file, and it's
on
on
the
the
very
same
end.
page.
I found yours, Clay, but I just changed it to number 2025, because the
Okay,
other one.
let me just see if that's the one that I had.
It's about, I guess, page 130.
Yeah, so 127. Okay, then we have exhibit A. So that's not the one I had sent. The second one. Yeah, so those are a little different. Those might be different based on yeah, that's not the original one that I had sent. I had sent one that had an amendment to the chapter itself, which is a little more inclusive. The two you're looking at is basically only affects town hall. I had sent a copy of one that that allows you to opt out of to the fullest extent, and this one is just including town hall, which means every other public building would be subject to or not subject to the Senate bill.
I think there's 3 of them, aren't there?
Yeah.
Is there a third one? Oh gosh, here we go.
I was looking back in old emails between you and the former town manager to find these, so maybe if you could send me updated.
Yeah, let me send you the one that I like. And I'm not trying to slow you guys down. I apologize. I'm only seeing 2 in the packet.
Let me ask this while we're going
But
through
anyway.
this. We, a couple of years ago, we secured the offices where the staff works and put bars on the window. And they can lock the door and keep it closed. It may not, I mean, I'm not in the mind of somebody who would come in and shoot the place up, but clearly if somebody wanted to get in there, they could kick the door open pretty quickly and it wouldn't give them a chance to even get out. So the county has banned weapons from the court. And that's this room. I thought we had court in the basement, or we don't do that anymore? Okay, doesn't happen very often, so whatever. Anyway, just seems to me like keeping people here safe is important, very important. And we could strengthen those barriers too, the doors and so forth, so you can keep the door locked, which I don't like because I can't just walk in, but at the same time, it might provide you more safety. And we can beef those doors up. So,
have we ever had an incident where a citizen came in and threatened any of the employees to the point where they felt bodily harm to come to them?
I mean, I've only been here a little over a year.
I don't remember anything happening like that. But it's not like it's a frequent occurrence.
No, it's not.
It's the random act of violence that, we're trying to prevent. I'm sure the governor's trying to do the same thing, I guess. But, and I don't know that we've had any instance in the state where court has been shot up or city council has been shot up. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm not, we live up here in Westcliff. And so, when did you enact it at the county?
Shortly after this bill got passed. About a month after.
Last year, right?
Yeah.
Have you always had that metal detector in front of the court?
It's been there. a long
That's been
time.
there for-
Yeah, that metal detector's been there for the courts for quite some time.
Okay.
10 years or something.
So,
Can I?
yeah,
Yep. I'm a staunch, Second Amendment person. I have a concealed carry permit. My wife has one. I've had one for 20-something years. I've watched people on a bus out in Norfolk who was open carrying. A lady got scared, called the police. This guy was arrested and thrown on the ground. And to make a long story short, his rights were violated severely. And he was open carrying. The city of Norfolk ended up having to pay him $11 million because of his rights violation. I understand that people get scared about carrying guns. I do not carry ever open unless I'm up on my property. And, but I can understand some of the verbiage, like how it was enacted for the county at the courthouse. If you have no open carry, not happening. But if you've got a concealed carry permit, you have a pretty significant amount of training that you've had to go through to understand what you can and cannot do. And with January 1st of this year, that requirement for the training is almost doubled. In fact, if you want to get a concealed carry permit now, you have to go have at least an 8-hour in-classroom course. You have to pass a written test, and you have to go and demonstrate proficiency with your weapon at a range. So the folks with concealed carry permits are not your average Joe that can just go grab a gun and do whatever they want. They have a little bit of education behind them and know a little bit what's going on. I grew up here. We used to go to school down here, and if you found a truck that didn't have a 30-30 in the back window, it'd be crazy. I can remember going out and going hunting right after school. In fact, they would close the schools down, or you'd get a couple hours off to go hunting or things like that. It's a different mindset. We didn't have people walking into a school with an AR-15 and taking out people. And we could get into a long discussion about all the pros and cons, or there's no pros with that, but all the things wrong with that. But we are a society that we do have the Second Amendment, and I believe that we have the right to be able to defend ourselves. And I would definitely vote no on anything that completely takes away the right to carry in here, like with a concealed carry permit.
What about open?
Open, I think that because of the fact that people just get scared seeing somebody walking around with a gun on their side, that's reasonable. Because you don't have to have any training to carry open. I mean, anybody in here could carry a gun openly into pretty much anywhere except like schools, the courthouse, things like that. And you don't have to have any training. You don't even have to have hunter safety training, right? So there's people dumb enough to blow their fingers off while they're trying to clean their gun or put a bullet in it. So that's why I would support open carry not being allowed, primarily because those people who can open carry generally don't go get any training.
Okay.
And that can be an issue. Like I said, I spent 15 years in Virginia open carrying with my concealed carry permit. I couldn't even carry it to my work, so, because I worked for the government on a secure Navy base, so, but they never had any issues.
My take on it is, and I've sat right here in this room, and if the guy that was on that thing in that meeting were here, I was fearing for me, and so I'm not a gun guy, but I'll tell you what, if anybody in here has one and that guy were to show up, and I would hope that any of you that would have one would protect us all, right? That's my take on it. And you know, the old thing is, but the open, I've only seen a couple in town in all the years it's been around, but that's, I'm up to debate, and thanks for that input, Chuck. Because in other words, what you're saying is the conceal has to go through a rigorous permitting process in order to do that.
And you have
Correct.
severe penalties.
For
If
violations.
you violate concealed carry, you're never, ever gonna get a concealed carry permit in the state of Colorado or even back in Virginia. Or if you get another issue is if you have any kind of a conviction of assault or battery against another person, you're not gonna get a permit and it will be taken away from you.
Yeah.
So.
That's not the same.
I know one church in town who has one member who has a firearm, but designated by the church.
And nobody knows who it is probably. Right?
I don't know if it knows who it is or not, but I know he carries a firearm because there have been places where churches have been shot up.
No question.
So,
So I think we allow it and the word spreads, I imagine, among the bad guys and gals.
Safety of our employees, you know?
Yeah.
Somebody could go in there right now and kick that door in.
Sure.
They wouldn't stand a chance. If you've got a gun, like I said, if you pointed at somebody, pull the trigger.
If you've gone past the point where you think you're gonna pull bodily harm onto somebody or shoot,
I actually had.
the gun is just a tool. They could come in here with a hammer or a knife
You don't
or
need a gun.
anything.
I actually had a person that, I had to burn my gun to work for about a month because they fired him and he was away. Off.
Is there anything in the municipal code already?
excuse me?
In our municipal code, is there anything about firearms in it
I
already?
do not recall.
I couldn't find
I
that.
don't think it's in there.
Well, I grew up in the gun culture. It sure is different now. It wasn't a big deal back then. And, people were hunting, I mean, you know, I grew up in the mountains. So I don't like the way it is now, but I would think a compromise, COVID, no open carry and keep it concealed. That seems reasonable to me.
Okay,
What you're
so,
saying, Chuck.
This is the first meeting I've come to that I didn't have one.
So what we're saying is that you two would have to get a concealed weapon permit to carry in the offices here?
No. What we're saying is that we would, with the exception of when this is being used as a courtroom, people with concealed carry would be allowed to come in and out of the building. But when this was a courtroom being used as a courtroom, then it would be off limits. But no open carry at all.
At all. Yeah, that's what I would
Is that
support.
what I was yapping about? Is that what you guys take from what I was saying?
Barry?
I appreciate the philosophical Second Amendment conversation. I'm curious, because I keep hearing about the door being kicked down. Is it okay for your employees to comment on how they would feel about this? Or would you like to?
I am not gonna say a personal comment about it, you know. It's whatever the trustees want. You know, one thing we talked about, you know, is perhaps getting a panic button, you know, back there,
An emergency
Have that
plan.
at the clinic.
you know, I mean, that's kind of an option, you know, Bob brought it up as well.
Well, we want you to be safe. We want you to feel safe and,
And us too.
and us too, of course. They're here every day. And, you know, you never know what sets a person off. Just recently out there, I think down Oak Creek Grade, that incident with that man who shot and killed, what, 3 people?
Yeah.
What set him off?
Property lines.
Well, I know, but I mean, that's nothing to kill somebody over.
Yeah, but we do that here too. in
Yeah.
town.
And so you don't know, and I don't have a concealed carry And my wife doesn't, because I think she'd shoot me, so, anyway, I do have shotguns, that's it, so, I don't like handguns, so, yes.
Is sensitive spaces limited to government buildings only or other public buildings as well?
Well, we could, this is only real public building, except for bathrooms in the parks. But this is the only, and then, well, we've got some, Neil's got an office in one of our shops, we have two shops that we store equipment in. But, this is really the only public building that we're at risk. So, do we want to go with just concealed carry except in here during court, or just in here during any time?
Say that again?
Concealed carry only. Concealed carry only in the
Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
Except during a board meeting or during court.
Well, the law says court, right? You can't have concealed carry in court.
Yeah, part of a concealed carry permit, you cannot carry in a court, cannot carry in the school. Can't carry in the parking lot.
But it seems to me like we can craft this pretty much any way we want. So I'm just saying, you wanna ask Clay to write an ordinance that says concealed carry open carry is banned.
Right.
Concealed carry only except during board meetings or court.
Well, we get into the enforcement thing. How do we know if somebody's got a
Under any
concealed carry?
circumstances, I mean, open carry, you obviously can enforce it,
Yeah.
you see it.
What do you think about excluding these meetings?
I'm not excluding it, I'm saying
You said
during,
board meeting.
I said concealed carry, except in board meetings or court,
This is a board meeting, right?
yes.
I would be right, because, again, if someone were doing it right now.
Well, I understand that, and I understand it's hard to enforce it, because you don't know if they're carrying.
I guess I'd say we just ban open carry. That's it.
Follow the general concealed carry thing where you can't be in a courtroom.
Right.
So then you two could actually have a gun in your office and if you had a concealed carry permit, correct?
They wouldn't have to have a concealed carry permit. Cause they're not carrying it on their person. If they had a shotgun behind the counter, they could have that. What do you want? Yeah. No, I'm just teasing.
All right, so make a motion.
Okay, I've lost track of the different laws and which codes we're trying to modify.
Why don't we suggest that after this talk, Clay had another concealed carry, or not a concealed carry, but a ordinance that he had talked. What if he finds his one that he did, cause I didn't see it in here, I only seen these two.
Yeah.
And maybe rework it such that it is, open carries out.
Yeah.
And concealed carry is okay with the exception of when it's a courtroom. And then we can discuss it next time and do it.
Right, and then the motion next month would be,
To adopt that.
right, exactly.
Are you on our page? Clay, it's no open carry, concealed carry only. And then we have to abide by the Colorado laws governing concealed carry.
Right, and you want that for municipal court sessions and for legislative sessions?
Yes.
Or just for town hall, do you want to ban it in town hall altogether?
We're
Town
gonna,
hall altogether, right?
open carry,
Open carry.
we'll ban concealed
Okay.
carry, we allow except for board meetings in court.
Okay, I got it.
He's saying you can't have a concealed carry permit in here.
That's right, because if anybody's gonna get shot, it's gonna be one of us.
But you just said open meetings, that's what we are in now.
I said, board meetings. Did I not?
Yeah, and also,
Concealed carry,
I'll say during legislative, so it'll basically say this, the town hereby opts out of enforcement pursuant to the following, the town code shall not be construed to forbid individual holding a valid carry to a carry concealed handgun within the town of West Cliff or any areas not described in the statute, and then municipal court and legislative prohibition will say carrying a firearm, whether loaded or not loaded, or open carried or concealed carry in any portion of a building adjacent to municipal court proceedings while court is in session, or a town hall while a legislative session is in progress, or while law enforcement, personnel, defense counsel, et cetera, municipal court language will remain prohibited. And then I'll just put in the extra language that nothing in the code shall be construed to forbid marshals, sheriffs, deputies, constables, deputies, special or ex officio police officers, or law enforcement from carrying while on duty that are necessary in the proper discharge of their duties. How does that sound?
I think Chuck and I are saying one thing, Paul, you're saying something else. I suspect. And with all the legal language, I've kind of lost the plot a little bit. What we're suggesting that you write up is that we ban open carry in the building.
Period.
Right, no open carry anywhere in public buildings, no concealed carry during legislative or municipal court sessions.
Mark and I are suggesting legislation. Board meetings, it would be okay.
Yeah.
Only when it's being used as a courtroom.
And Paul, you see it otherwise, right?
Yes.
If you eliminate board meetings like this, you basically might just as well stay with the state law.
Yeah.
And personally, you know, if a wacko's gonna do something, it's probably not against those two.
Excuse me?
If a wacko's gonna come and, you know, as they do, they pick a place that for some reason they get all upset and decide to take care of it. It's probably not coming into the office during the day to go after those two. It's more likely you as the board of the town, if somebody's really pissed off, they're gonna show up here.
And if they're gonna do that, they're already gonna break the law no matter what law you enact.
Well, I think,
Paul Volasong. If you were just gonna say no open carry, you can control that at the door. Think about how you're gonna control this at the door before they even enter the building. So if you say no open carry, you have a placard up there like the mall does, no open carry. Those people that have concealed carry understand that you can bring a concealed carry in, but not an open carry. If you say, start dictating what is and not, you can't control it at the door.
Correct.
No one's gonna read.
I think what we're talking about is no open carry in this building at all.
Period.
Right.
That's what
And
we're
he
saying.
said, and Mr. Wolf is saying that if you have a placard on the door, everybody who has a handgun can see the sign and make the decision whether or not they wanna continue carrying in if they have a gun on their belt, right? Which would put them in violation, which then Aaron and Melanie would be hitting the hot button or calling 911 or whatever, right? Serious, I mean, that's what your option is. A person with a concealed carry permit would make the same decision. Okay, I can come in here with my concealed carry permit. But if you put too many restrictions on it, then nobody's gonna know
What the rules are.
what the rules are, and that's,
I mean, you made
you
a good point, somebody did anyway, if they wanna do it, they're gonna do it, ordinance or no ordinance, they're just gonna come in and start
Shoot
shooting.
somebody in the parking lot for that matter.
But I think the key is if you have some people in here with concealed carry, if that person comes in, you got somebody potentially can stop.
I
If
think
you have no guns in the room,
Well, you don't know,
well, you don't know,
I
right?
don't know, but you got a
you
better
don't know if
chance.
somebody's in here is packing right now.
Yeah, I mean, you asked my opinion earlier. I'm not afraid to say it. I think I think concealed carry has shown statistically, historically, and recently that it's one of the greatest deterrent effects to people who are willing to commit a crime with a gun, because those people aren't going to be the ones that look at the sign and say, oh, it's a misdemeanor to carry my gun in here. Well, I'm not going to come in here and shoot up the place then. But if someone decides if they're gonna break the law, they very often have an illegal firearm and they're carrying it illegally and they're gonna about to do something illegal with it, the only real deterrent, unless you have police on duty all the time, is to have somebody carry a pistol or a concealed weapon, that's a good guy. And so I see that all the time, and even in municipal court, you know, we have a lot of municipal court and in county and district court, you got, if there's no bailiffs, you have judges that carry a pistol, because they're alone. And of course, I think you can carve out an exception, for that and for prosecutors as law enforcement, but you know, I don't think it really has to do with what you want to be a misdemeanor or not. And you can always designate people within your group that carries a concealed weapon. You can say nobody carries a concealed weapon, but you can designate somebody on the board to carry a concealed weapon, in case a bad guy comes in. So the two main things here are, you know, I don't think it's really a safety issue. Because if somebody's gonna come in and shoot and kill someone, I don't think they care about the misdemeanor one violation of actually carrying the weapon concealed. And then two, how do you enforce it? And so by banning weapons, you know, you have effectively gotten rid of the good guys who don't want to carry unlawfully, and and then created a problem for your staff and enforcement if you don't have a 24/7, not 24/7, but while business hours are open, a gun or metal detector, and then law enforcement to enforce what's going through that metal detector. And so those are some of the arguments people are making as to, you know, why this is really not an enforceable issue. But again, you guys can decide how you want, but that's my 2 cents on why you would or you would not ban concealed. I totally agree with open carry. I think it creates unnecessary, you know, it creates unnecessary adversity, and it can scare people that see it. And it can also be intimidating to someone who's sitting next to someone arguing a political point that has a revolver on their hip. So that part I understand, just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so.
Another question, motion.
Yes,
David, yeah, I would think that's almost like an open advertisement, you know, if we're gonna ban concealed carry in this building at any time, it's an open advertisement with anyone with malicious intent that no one else in here has a gun to protect themselves, so.
Well, we're not talking about doing that though.
I know, but I'm just making a point against, if we were to do that. The unknown of if someone in here has a gun might be a deterrent of its own.
that's a good point.
Another point that was raised in Virginia a lot was how many gun stores have you seen robbed in the daylight with the owners in there? Never. You have people drive their cars in a place after hour when there's nobody there. But not every-
I actually employed somebody who robbed a gun store. He and his friend robbed a gun store when it was open. And he did 5 years, but there are other circumstances involved. And anyway, he was a really good employee. I mean, I hired him back. So anyway, okay, so we have our direction then from for Clay regarding what we're gonna do. And when we make the sign, Aaron, in no open carry, by the way, we're all packing.
And Mr. Mayor, the last direction I got 2 different directions. So if you could clarify as to whatever the consensus is.
It's open, no open carry in this building. And no open carry or no concealed carry or open carry, obviously, in court.
That's it.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
good. More discussion on that?
I think with maybe is the other buildings we have are the 2 town shops, right, and the bathrooms, and I don't know, what- excuse me?
In parks.
And the parks. So should we include those? I just.
Are they considered sensitive areas?
Public areas, that's right, sensitive is the key word, I guess, is that right?
I don't think the law addresses that, does it?
No.
Says chambers where a local government governing body is located and so forth. It doesn't sound to me like it covers public property as a whole. I'm looking at the,
But I would think at minimum the shops. Okay, how come you didn't plow my street? You plowed theirs,
Huh.
and I'm gonna shoot you, you know?
That's all right, we got tools, we'll throw it.
But I'm just thinking out loud.
Here's an issue, if you make it illegal to have it, like, let's just say, a concealed carry in the parks or in the bathrooms, that means that if I'm down by those parks or near the bathroom, and gotta go pee, I have to go find my truck, lock my weapon. Now the weapon has to be locked in a case that's locked and inside a locked vehicle.
Out of sight.
Out of sight, can't be inside. That was a new rule this
You
January.
gotta go now. Is that what you're saying?
There's times with that, okay, I'm gonna take that mystery.
There's an exclusion for full bladders, so someplace.
Okay.
Okay, so you've got guidance then, Clay? Okay. On to the next
Yeah,
item.
I got it.
Very good. On to the next item. So we'll wait for the next meeting to bring that up again. All right, we have a job description for the town operations coordinator. And, I know Mark and Bob have been working on this and,
With their, you know.
and Aaron, of course. But who wants to take this on? Who wants to address it?
I guess I can do it. If I can find it. Hold on a minute, this is the world's largest packet. I'm getting there, hold on a minute. Anyway, yeah, I still can't find it. Okay. Basically, this was a rework and retitling of the previous town manager job description. And the emphasis on this is that it's not a, there is no town manager. We have a, yeah, I don't have the latest.
We have it here and, okay.
This is the one we just got.
Yes, that's it here, John.
Yeah.
So basically, what's different about this description from the others, the town manager one, is it doesn't have the title town manager. It seems like there was an awful lot of confusion about what that meant. The town clerk is also the town administrator, and there was confusion about what those two things meant. So,
The clerk is, clerk/administrator has always been that job title.
yes, I recognize that, but I can't say everybody else did. So this is a town coordinator, town operations coordinator, where what we're saying is this job title has more to do with the nuts and bolts on the ground activities, that parks, roads, inspections, and the like. And that, this is not, well, there is a little confusion here, Paul, because you and I talked about who this person answers to. And originally it was written up as you see it, that it, well, right now it's written up that it reports to the Board of Trustees. Our original document that we had agreed on in the workshop said it answered to the administrator.
To the clerk, clerk administrator.
Yeah, last Monday or Tuesday.
We've talked about that.
Yeah, I had second thoughts when I talked to you about it, and I still do. I think this should not answer to the Board of Trustees, because that was the confusion and conflict about priorities and authority. And this job description lets the administrator be the administrator. And this person has more to do with plowing snow and working with Neil and his crew and getting budgets and tools and all those things together. And inspections as well. And there's some actual other duties added to it.
Code enforcement as well, right?
Yes.
I agree 100% with you that it should not be split, meaning answering directly to the board Because then we may get another individual that has the same mindset as the one previously and wants to be in charge of everything.
We discussed that last,
Yeah,
first part of last week.
we went back to
At length.
Nausea.
I have explained my reasoning to you and to you.
I understand.
I think
But,
it needs to be addressed this way, by the council to the administrator.
So this job will answer to you then?
There, to
To,
the clerk administrator.
okay,
If that's
so you're.
what you guys decide.
You'll be the one that's in charge.
Single point of contact for the board.
That's, yeah, that was the language.
and then since we've gotten this, okay,
I'm just confused about some, so in what way does this new position be accountable to Aaron in a technical context? In other words, does the town administrator set the priorities and tasks and goals and all of those things?
The board does a lot of that.
trustees do that.
And how do they communicate that to this person?
Well, we have, a meeting at the beginning of the year, probably even before this year, we start with the budget. And that's where a lot of this gets done. You can't budget for everything, you can't plan for everything. But, our priorities are in the budget as to what we're gonna do with infrastructure, et cetera. Right? And that gets communicated, to, the clerk administrator, but others will be involved too. Because they have to help, like Neil is doing this right now on the road. So we have a small staff, they all have to contribute and they all have to understand it. So it's not like, what should I say? It's not like a larger organization, so everybody has to have a little bit of a piece of the pie. So they have to understand what we're doing, what's expected of them and so forth. So we're working on, I'm not done.
I'm sorry.
We're working on management by objectives for those positions so that they know what they can plan their year out. With objectives, things change, of course, then things may not be able to be done, or you have to add things that you couldn't know about. And all that's done through that view, that planning document. And then you evaluate it as you go along.
So, to get
You
my
understand
mind
that?
clear, oh, I heard you, yeah. I still, so I noticed in the description, I've read the old description and the new one. And I saw in there responsibilities on HR, responsibilities for supervision. How does Aaron, what position does that put Aaron in, where there's a conflict?
In terms of what?
Well, what if Aaron and this operations person has a conflict?
Between the two of them?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Who is-
you will hope they work it out, but, you know, I don't know if you've ever worked for anybody before, have you?
Yeah, hell yeah.
And so what you do is you had a conflict.
Well, you talk it out, depending on your supervisory structure. This, I hear the management by objectives thing. This, you admit, this is a small operation. Sounds like you wanna talk to the guy once in the beginning of the year and then you turn him loose and never talk to him again. I believe in management by wandering around.
That's
all right?
my
And that's what
philosophy.
you really ought to be responsible
But
for.
I would never short circuit, the person they reported to. I would never go in and say, the Neil, you know, I want you to chip seal this street or do something like that. Without first talking to her, or if I was gonna spend money, talking to this board first. And then we work it through that way. And maybe, and so forth and so on. But, I've got 50 years of management experience and nothing can be predicted, number one, and number two, if you don't expect it, it will happen.
I too have 50 years of management experience, and what I see is too much funneling through one person. It's unfair, frankly, and I don't see how that's gonna work, but I'll shut up and let you guys go on. I don't wanna take more time, but I don't like what I see. I don't think it's what you need at this level of size of organization.
Very good. All right, any other questions about this?
I don't agree with Barry. I've had plenty of years of experience too. And there's nothing in here that prohibits the coordinator from coming to meetings or speaking their mind if it comes to that. And I would certainly hope if senior positions have a conflict they can't deal with, they come to the mayor. It's not that we got 500 people here. I mean, we're only talking 9.
It is in the policy book that you go up to your supervisor. If the supervisor and you can't handle it, then it goes up to the next one. Eventually it ends up to the town mayor and board of trustees.
Oh, what I would like to interject is, and my fault, but we were, and when we met last week and the goal, the reason we got together, we had what, for, I don't know, 3 meetings to come up with this. And it was tough, okay, because we're trying to, separate and find out what's really necessary, a lot of duplication and stuff like that. So we were hurrying to do that so we could vote on it tonight. However, after printing it out yesterday, finally, Aaron sent it out graciously last Thursday, and it was a hectic week, so my apologies for that, but I'm still not comfortable with where we are with this. There's still some stuff that shouldn't be in here. Okay, and I can go through those if you like, but I would request that maybe somehow we can just, not vote on it now, or we can vote on it now based on some changes, or just wait until next meeting to approve it after we polish it up, if you will. Because this is so important.
Sure it is.
And so I think that, excuse me, Paul, but I just think let's don't hurry. It's a critical thing. Let's do it right and once and for all. Hopefully, and everything could be changed down the road, of course, but we have common citizen comment.
Well, I think we've done this before. We could rewrite it and send it out to the board and then poll the board and get their sense of whether this is right. And if they say yes, then we can post the job. I'm just rambling here. Clay can tell me whether I can do it or not. And then we can vote it up at the next meeting.
How many points of contention do you have, Bob?
There's one for each.
Obviously, yeah.
That's, all right, I thought it was just
8 or
one or
10,
two.
no, not 1 or 2.
Well, the biggest issue right now is who does the position answer to?
Excuse me?
The biggest, my lips are dry. The biggest issue now is who does the position answer to?
Well, I thought you have already decided. I prefer to answer to the mayor.
Yeah, and we preferred that it answered to the administrator, so I guess we need a consensus of the board on this or
I
something.
get 7 votes.
Minus
6 right now.
So that's what I would prefer as mayor. So,
And that's what we had before. So that's where we are right now.
so.
Yeah, but what we had come up with was the answer to the administrator. So I think the consensus of the board, roughly speaking, is answers to the administrator.
Yes.
Right?
Actually, that's what I thought we were leaning towards in our last meeting.
I
I mean, you're still the final say, but they need to go through.
Well, I don't think I am the final say. If the board votes to do it, then I am just one vote, but.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like to build consensus and, I don't want to go along just to get along, but, my opinion, so I'll just leave it at that.
That's mine.
Yeah, the citizen.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Well, as I discussed in the workshop, I strongly believe it should report there. And I think John Van Doren had the same opinion, based upon our business experience. But given you do that, if you have this new person report to Aaron, everything in the town reports to Aaron, why is her title not town manager?
It's clerk administrator. is it?
Yeah, but for clarity from the outside world, you make it town manager, everybody clearly knows, okay, I know who to go to.
Well, there's a couple of problems with that. Town manager is not a legal term in town law. Administrator is. And if you look at the law, the administrator has this cohesive, pull everything together job. Town manager is not in state law.
So town administrator,
Town administrator has a.
without the slash clerk or whatever, just make it town administrator, everything for the town.
Well, by the law, that person can be the treasurer, the clerk, and the administrator.
Okay, so town administrator would be a good title.
That's what she has.
Administrator slash clerk. You're saying that the law could be all three of those could be within there. In that title.
It's always been that way. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been on this board for 20-some years. It's always been clerk / administrator.
I think that the use of the title town manager caused confusion. It caused confusion.
Well, it seemed to me from an outside world, from the public standpoint, town manager might be clearer. Anything in the town goes through this person, but I understand if you can't, you can't.
I agree, but you might make some good points about what we can do, what we can't do, what we've always done historically.
Yeah, town administrator is a statutory title. It's in the law.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, this is Jordan Hedberg. Can I have a comment?
Yes.
Yeah, and I agree with Mark Dembowski. He's correct about the law in towns. What I'm going to really implore the board here is you guys need to decide if you're a strong form mayor of government or a weak form. I see nothing in your ordinances that ever said that your town clerk administrator was kind of acting administrator. Everything I can tell going through the history and the ordinances is right now you guys are a strong mayor by default. You're a town under 2,000 people. And there's nothing in the ordinances that ever gave authority to, say, the administrator to act as like a CFO or CEO. So I think before you move forward on this particular discussion, you really need to do some serious research and discussion on what type of government you currently have. Because by default with towns, according to state statutes, it's a strong mayor, where you, Mayor Winkie, are essentially the one that gives orders to staff, they report to you, so on and so forth. The confusion has come, as Mark Dembowski clearly points out, is that city manager only applies in state law to cities, municipalities over 2,000. So before you move forward on this, you guys have to get clear about what type of government you currently have. From my research, you're strong mayor at the moment. I see nothing in the ordinance that ever said there was a vote by the people that made it a weak mayor or an ordinance that was ever voted that way. Thanks.
And
Clay, I have a question for you.
yeah, board, that's not, just disregard all of that, please. We're in a weird
Yeah.
weak mayor form of government. There's only two strong mayor forms of government in the entire state of Colorado, and that's Denver and maybe Colorado Springs. I can't remember the other. It's a major city. By default, the towns and municipalities in Colorado are weak mayor forms of government, meaning that the mayor is not acting as the CEO of the town, but that the town administrator is often acting as, among many other things, as a chief executive officer of the local government that is works at the pleasure of the board, and the board appoints that person. So we know what form of government we are. We're a weak mayor form of government. And I don't think any of that was relevant or correct. So I would just disregard that public comment.
Well, I would appreciate any feedback from the board on this stuff. No, it's fine. I mean, just send me the ordinance.
For an argument. I'm
not arguing, just send me the ordinance. I've asked the board, I've asked everybody, just send me what you're talking about where we can get this part clear. But it is.
Well, it's right here in our handbook.
I remember reading them too.
It's
It's the first page now.
Unless we
It's,
vote.
Clay, it's, Title 31. I've got it in my notebooks here.
Yeah, I know what it is. I'm just not gonna, that's not the appropriate time to have an argument with someone that, doesn't know what statute they're talking about.
Okay, so we have the, thank you for your input, Jordan. We have the job descriptions here, and so Clay, while we're still on the job description, Bob has some further discussion he wants to do with the committee, which is Mark and him and Aaron, about the description, the job description. And, the longer we wait, the longer that job stays open. So what I would like to do, if this is appropriate, is to have them go ahead and make these changes as quickly as possible. And then send it to all of us, as fax it to us or whatever, to us as a board. People don't do faxes, email or texts. Anyway, and then if we have a sense of the board that this is good, we can go ahead and post it and we'll approve it at the next board meeting in February. Can we do that?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir. I think at this point, if you are gonna amend it, though, you need to table the consideration. Because it's not just a discussion, so you'd have to table what you have until you come up with exactly what you want to do.
Well, I know that, I'm just saying, once they come up with what they want to do, can they, send that to us as board members? We read it and we say yay or nay, and then we can go ahead and post it even before the next meeting, so that we can approve it at the next meeting.
That's a violation of the sunset law.
Okay, forget it. We'll just do it at the next meeting then.
Can we have a workshop to make sure it's right before we?
Well, we can. These two have been working on it. I'm
Well, we
going
did it as
for 2
a
weeks.
little advisory group, like I was proposing before, because we knew we were gonna report to the Board of Trustees directly.
Right.
If we want a workshop, then it's, have to post it and so forth.
Yeah.
And Clay, I can't remember, in a workshop, we cannot pass ordinances or the like, correct?
Nope. You can't, at a workshop, you can't make any official decisions.
So,
Here's a dumb question. Can you guys rework it and then we have a special meeting
will that be a
before
workshop?
the next?
Oh, well, special meeting, you could pass things, right? Clay, there's a difference between a workshop and a special meeting, right?
That's correct. If there you have a special meeting, a special meeting is just a meeting that's not on your listed as a regular meeting. The issues with special meetings are notice. And so as long as you have proper notice and agenda for the special meeting, just like you would a regular meeting, you can do anything pretty much with very few exceptions that you could do at a regular meeting.
Well, there you go, Mr. Mayor.
It is.
Guess we got another meeting then, huh?
Well, I'm going out of town for a couple of weeks, so you'll have, if we want me present, you'll have to wait till after the 15th of February, so.
We need 7 days.
What are you leaving?
I'm leaving Friday. Day after tomorrow. 2 days, this
Not
Friday.
enough time to know.
You can zoom in.
Yeah. I can zoom in, sure.
Drinking pina coladas on the beach?
I can see, senor. All right, very good. Let's move on then. We've got it.
Oh,
What do we do?
They got you.
Well, we're gonna have
We need to make a
Yeah, we
motion.
need to.
I'm gonna make a motion to move on.
Special, Bob
But
and
the,
have the committee rework it,
Yeah,
and present it to a special meeting
yeah.
and, well,
right, that, we have to do something on number 8.
yeah, we have.
Randy?
I have, one question here on the, basically the second page. It says hiring and firing of all department personnel under the town operations coordinator.
That's one of the highlights. See,
Oh, so you're gonna be just discussing that then?
Well, that's actually, that was in the old job description.
Okay, why don't we do this? Let's not do the job description at this board meeting. Let's go back into the workshop.
Yeah.
And you guys, because, But if there's more than 3 board members there,
You can't do
you
that.
can't do that, so I'm just saying.
I know, it's difficult, it's
Yeah,
difficult.
you can certainly email them.
Oh,
No,
You can't do that?
I can't send an email to more than 2 people at the board.
yeah.
And I can't send
I'm
email
not
to
suggesting
you
you send it to more than 2, I'm suggesting send it to 2.
Yeah.
Right, you can tell Bob, or you can tell Chuck, Mark, and then, or both,
There you go.
and then
Yeah,
they
Please
can
do that.
hey Clay. So if we have a little workshop, 2 board members and staff, other board members could email me with their thoughts, could they not? That's not a sunshine violation, is it?
Are you talking about some sort of like discussion by proxy during a work session?
Well, we just had a little working group, 2 board members and staff. Which is, and we just make recommendations to the board. So if we're gonna have a little meeting like that in the next few days, it would be, I'm hoping, compliant with the sunshine laws that other board members who have suggestions could email them to Aaron or to me legally, right?
I mean, I suppose you could consider like write in. Like if somebody wanted to write in some suggestions, and I suppose you could consider it, you'd have to discuss it because a work session is still a public meeting. You don't have to take, you don't take public comment and you don't make any decisions, but it's still subject to Cora, so I'd have to look at that. It's more like a discussion by proxy. My initial reaction is that you probably don't want to have written suggestions. You can have remote discussion. Somebody could call in or do a Zoom, but I wouldn't start taking written suggestions for that reason. Just because you could, I guess, include them as part of the record and make it discoverable for a Cora request, but it's not a best practice, that's for sure.
Well, hold on a
How
second.
can we resolve what the mayor's suggestion was that they fix the document and get a consensus from the board? I don't know how they're gonna get the consensus, but get a consensus that, okay, it looks good now. Post it, the job description, post it for, for employment, and then vote it in at the next meeting. That doesn't sound right to me.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we let the 2 people, Bob and Mark, continue to work on this? And if you wanna bring up your concerns right now, Randy and Chuck, on the job description, do so.
There you go.
We'll get some notes and then they can go on with it.
That's, that was the one that I had, and also the,
That's page 2, right? What
H2, yeah.
number?
I'm sorry.
What number?
It was the, it was down,
Oh, all right, it's this first bullet item under essential duties, I think.
right, yeah.
Including organizing, training, hiring, and firing of all department personnel. That text was in the original town manager's job description. Other than we said departmental personnel, meaning the operation.
Right, I'm just wondering if that should still be in there, because really, does that person now still have that authority to hire and fire people?
Yeah, and I think we can define the job according to statute as we wish. So we're giving them that authority.
Well, but shouldn't that be coming from the,
Erin's responsible for her side of the office side of things, and this person.
but what I'm saying is that there's a problem. Why does that person have the right to hire and fire when they're supposed to be contacting Aaron?
Well, I think, let me interrupt there, and I don't disagree with you, Randy. I would do it with the approval of, or discussions and approval with the administrator.
Okay, Okay, yeah, it actually does, yeah. And also the requirement of a CDL. And
What do you think about that?
well, I think you're limiting your availability of qualified people because of the fact of having to have a CDL. And also the thing at the very back about lifting 100 pounds, you know.
Well, how about if that was moved to desire the qualifications?
How many people do you have with CDLs?
Two,
You,
currently.
and that you need, it's not as easy, it's like a 4-day process now, isn't it?
No, it's a month process.
And it's
A month?
Yes, sir. Federal government with motor carriers have changed the laws on how you obtain a CDL. What education required, it's usually a month long, but it costs like $1,600, Aaron?
9,000 for a tractor trailer license, my son-in-law just got one. But I thought there was a lower one where it's just air brake, like a dump truck stuff.
It doesn't matter because it has air brakes, it's B. You have to get at least that portion. It's still, it's not the full-blown
Yeah.
Class A, but it is a Class B. So they have to take certain classes, certain requirements. It's still about a month long.
So that was in there in the old job description in any case. And I guess we chatted and talked about, limited staff being available for snow plowing and the like. Would it be an advantage to you if it wasn't a mandatory, but it would be nice if you hired somebody that did it?
My 3 years of being here, the person in that position with a CDL drove the truck once. So is it required? I would say no. Is it required that they have knowledge of CDL requirements to work with Aaron and the federal government? Yes. If they're gonna supervise us, they need the knowledge on what they're supervising.
Thank you. I'm with you, Randy, because I think it would limit
Okay.
opportunity. Thank you for that, Dave. What else? Anything else? Either of you?
That's.
Because we're gonna whip this thing out.
Okay, any other suggestions to the committee?
Just the 100-pound thing.
Well, yeah, that's, I too. I can't lift 100 pounds right now. I used to be able to.
When I was at my
Stand up
trucking
every
business,
day,
100 pounds
250, so.
was.
Typically, it's 50 pounds.
All those code books.
So any other suggestions to the committee? Well, Bob's got some, but you're gonna work that out.
Yes, so yeah, we'll work that out.
All right,
So I move that we table this consideration to request approved job description until the committee reconvenes and updates it. And then we'll have it on the agenda for the next trustees meeting or sooner if we can work it out.
very good. Okay.
Now, that would imply a special meeting then.
A special meeting.
I don't know, do we need what's the rule on tabling motion?
I hear you.
I know you have to do you just make it and agree to it, or does it have to have a second?
Chuck, you seconded.
Well, I know.
Just now?
Okay, it's been moved and approved, or second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries, okay. Now, the next thing on the agenda is a survey of our town-owned lots. I believe that's important because, while we know where they are, I don't know that we don't know exactly where the pins should be and so on and so forth. So I think this is another step down the road to creating affordable housing. We just have to know where, what the property, how it's defined legally and so forth. We don't have a surveyor yet, but I think Aaron has 3 names and we'll just get bids. It goes pretty quick these days. I had some property surveyed on my property and I went out to see them. I saw them pull up and they were gone. So I called her up and she says, oh no, they're done. They're all done by satellite now. And they just boom, 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 it's done. So they don't have to measure.
I had to bill in the mail too.
Yeah. So I need a resolution A motion to
I
approve.
move that we, check, get those lots surveyed for the town owned lots on South Hermit Road.
Okay. Is there a second?
That's enough.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Well, we'll need that for, once we get to HSA and start working on it.
Right.
Because we don't know, do we have 2 acres to offer, or do we have 5? Like, we don't know right now.
So,
Good move.
so no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This is not in the budget, by the way, but we'll
That's right.
find the money.
Shouldn't be too much money.
Okay.
See if the kid still has a license.
Um,
Oh, or no.
Chuck, you want to handle it, it's a board of adjustments. Do we have to go into that, or is that just, Aaron's gone?
I could comment on that.
Thank you, Mark.
We weren't sure how to formally close out a complaint process. We have information, Mr. Zwiecki is pleased with what we've done. We've got an email of that effect. Chuck and I can talk about what we did, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the process. But it wasn't clear to us how we close a complaint. Is it, in the past, the town manager just got an email and that was it? Or because it was to the Board of Adjustment, the Board of Adjustment had to say, fine, it's over.
Actually, I don't recall.
When we had the issue with the apartments, once she was in compliant with the ordinances, I just reported it to the town manager and says, it looks like it's good to go. And we didn't have an adjustment or
Okay.
anything afterwards. And he
Aaron,
just,
Just be in the file.
I mean, Mr. Zawacki emailed me and said he was pleased with it, thanked us and said he considers it closed. So,
Okay, I'm the one that tried to get on the agenda because it wasn't clear to me how we did that.
I didn't know that you got on the agenda, okay. I was gonna go with Chuck because he does the measurements and everything. Okay, so, would you make a comment about that? Did you want to make a comment about the process?
Yeah. Actually, Chuck, if you want to talk about the measurements and stuff, I just want to talk about in general how this works. But I can do that first. Let me do that. So this is really the second project in the last year or two that the town's been involved in. The first one was Chuck and I were citizens. It's when Black Hills changed all the lights in the Old Town residential, so south of Main, 2nd to 6th. And I wrote an email and there was a lot of people really angry about those lights. So the town was involved, Dark Skies from Chuck, concerned citizens, Black Hills, town staff had a piece of it. We went through a lot of experiments. We actually changed things around. We had a public review period. It took a long time to get it agreed upon, funded, and then actually things happening. And I think the reason for that is it's not obvious. How do you fix existing lights or lights out of the marketplace that aren't Dark Skies compatible? It's not clear how to do it. I spent a day talking to light contractors in the Front Range. It took me all day to find somebody in Denver that seemed to know what they were talking about, that had some commercial grade lights available. I mean, you can go to Home Depot and they'll claim that they're Dark Skies, but they don't say why, mostly. And so that first project took a long time. The second one is the same. It was not obvious how to fix those lights, other than yank them all out and start from scratch again.
now on the second complaint, the one with the apartments, once they were aware that they were out of spec, they didn't want to mess with anything, so they just went and they asked for assistance in selecting lights. Basically, what would you select if you were putting them up?
Yeah.
So Jim Bradburn and I got together and came up with a list of about 3 different fixtures and sent it to him. And the next thing we know, get an email, they're up, come check them.
Right.
And it was set.
It's not obvious how to find lights. In that case, it worked. Other cases, it doesn't. So I gotta say that Ace did a lot of work on their own. I don't know if people know that Jeremy Handy made prototype shields for the lights on the warehouse. They were cardboard, and then we went out as a team and adjusted them. And then he knocked out at Ace's expense, not the town's expense, metal shields and he put them up. And then we had found that you, in theory, you could put films on these lights and change the color, but it wasn't obvious that they were practical. And Jeremy and company found those as well, and that was the solution. And then thirdly, the lights that were on the poles, and I hope I'm describing this properly, they were not the ones that Ace ordered. And there was some confusion with the contractor, the supplier, and eventually got the ones that were ordered in the first place that had switches that could adjust things. So that took a long time, and it was an honest effort by a lot of volunteers. And the reason I'm talking about this is it is true that we have an ordinance, which is law within the town, but dark skies is not a law, right? It's aspirational.
Well, we have an ordinance regarding dark skies.
Yeah, I'm saying we do, but in general, dark skies realizes that just because you, and Chuck, you can address this better than me maybe, if a town says it wants to be dark skies, it doesn't mean you go in there and you change everything at once. It's, you work on it, step by step by step, right?
First of all, dark skies, anything that was original lighting before dark skies is grandfathered in.
Mhm.
So, you know, if you don't have a dark skies fixture on the outside of your house, you still can, it can be turned on and you don't violate any ordinances. I think even the dark skies organization, you can't just change all the lights and, you know, force people to do that. But new buildings like mine, which was built after dark skies, or the one, not the one, the main building, that's, they're all under ease, but that was after, before dark skies. The new building, you know, when I looked at the plans and the lighting and everything, I didn't even think about asking about those fixtures. And when we got the plans approved here, nobody in the office, they didn't ask us either if those were compliant. So frankly speaking, I guess everybody dropped the ball. I mean, we hold as much responsibility as any Ace does.
Well, we gotta
I
fix
should have known that, but I just didn't even think about it.
The biggest thing that we learned from the ACE situation was how to measure the lights.
Right.
And I spent an hour and a half on the telephone with a lighting engineer, with Jim Bradford, mid-range. And he pretty much told me exactly how we should be doing, or pretty much how we should be doing it. We just can't take a static reading of brightness at one spot. You have to understand, what are they trying to illuminate, right? And how much illumination do they need for what they were trying to do? And one of the other things that was part of the ACE deal was, it wasn't just brightness, it wasn't just the color temperature, it was the light trespass that was going all the way across Highway 69. And that is a issue because the Zwankies were below the plane, right?
Right.
And luckily, we were able to work, Jeremy was excellent working with us to come up with a shading,
Yeah.
you know, the proper shading. And I think we're fortunate because he was so willing to help and to make things right. If we'd had somebody that was, no, I'm not gonna do this, you know, show me where it's written that the guy below the grade has to, you know, can tell you what to do. Plus the guy wasn't even, the complainant wasn't even a resident of Westcliff. But it was still light trespass onto his property.
Well, I think,
Thank you all for that.
I guess my summary of this is kind of how difficult it was to evolve things. That's what we're doing. I think the town's learning, maybe people in the town are as well. I guess I'm saying that the dark skies market for dark skies compliant lights is pretty puny, especially if it's industrial strength like ACE. And we're moving ahead slowly in a cooperative manner. And I like to suggest we keep doing it that way. And, you know.
Well, you know, it has to start in the office here that approves plans. And,
Well, that's a point.
and Dwight has to understand that, and I don't, residential lighting is one thing, industrial, commercial lighting is another.
Right.
And so we'll have to work with him, the new town manager, operations coordinator will have to work with him. Put this on their agenda to get a good handle on it, maybe work with Chuck or you.
I'd be happy to come in and help them to understand what we learned primarily through this.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. All right.
To answer your question on how to close it out, I believe there's a form, right? A complaint form in the office? And you would just state what was done to resolve it, and if both parties, I believe there's a spot on there, if both parties in agreement that it's resolved, and then it's filed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got the email. I mean, it's in writing, so we're
Okay.
good.
All right. Anything else to come before the good of the group? Staff?
Just one, we have the vacant trustee seat. It's published in both papers and on our website. George resigned on January 9th, so we have 60 days to fill that. Otherwise, there's a special election. But we do have one application for a trustee, so, and it'll run through the end of the month.
Okay, very good.
That's it.
Anything else? No? Okay, folks in the audience, did you ever want to say something more?
Yes, Mayor Winkie, I've got something.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Who is this? Jordan?
This is Jordan, yeah, with the Tribune. So again, I don't want to step on Clay's toes here, but one of the things that I was a little surprised about tonight with the mayor pro tem is unless the town of Westcliff has some ordinance or regulation, usually mayor pro tem is a vote by the board. I've covered a lot of these meetings over the decades, and usually there's a vote. It's not just assigned to one individual. So you don't have to answer me. This is just a public comment, but I'm saying that seems odd. I'd love some clarification after the meeting or, by email or whatever. And then also a discussion with all of the trustees that saying Mark is fine it just appears to be a violation of the open meetings law because you're kind of jumping to each person to come to a consensus outside of a public meeting to say who's mayor pro tem. Mayor pro tem is not a joke in a small town like this. They get to sign checks. They get a lot of power. Generally, according to state statutes, from what I can tell, and again, I'm not an attorney, but it's usually a vote of the board. Thanks.
Well, thanks for the input. We'll have to make sure we're in compliance with the law. I've been mayor for 6 years, 7 years, and I've appointed 3 mayor pro tems, and I just appointed them, 3 or 4, and I just appointed them. So if that's out of order, we will, I consulted with the board.
And Mr. Mayor, Mr. Hedberg is correct on the mayor pro tem. I had thought it looked like to me that you guys had gathered a consensus and appointed the mayor pro tem, but typically after a discussion of that, then the board decides by majority vote who the mayor pro tem is. Mr. Hedberg's correct on that.
Okay, let me, somebody want to nominate Mark Dembowski as mayor pro tem?
I'll nominate Mark Dembowski as the mayor pro tem.
Dies for lack of second. Could I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, folks. Nobody wants to say anything? Oh, no.
Okay, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
Well, Mr. Mayor, let me say something real quick if I could and get some direction from the board. I wanted to correct something I said earlier. As of now, according to CML, there are 4 strong mayor forms of government. That's Pueblo, Leadville, Denver, and Colorado Springs. And Aurora has put their strong mayor referendum on the ballot for 2025. If you want me to, it would be at your discretion because you pay me. I'm happy to have a discussion with Mr. Hedberg and point him towards statutes and the right direction regarding weak mayor versus strong mayor form of government, which is really, we use those terms plainly, the statutory terms have to do with council manager and mayor, mayor council, hyphenated terms. But anyway, if you want me to follow up with Mr. Hedberg, please give me direction. Otherwise, I'm gonna wait until I get direction from the board before spending any time on it.
Yeah, sure.
Sure, yes, that's a nod. We're all nodding yes.
Hey,
Okay.
hey, Clay, what,
And,
oh, I'm sorry.
I thought I was a strong mayor because I got this gavel.
You are the executive officer of the board meetings. That's correct, sir.
Ooh.
So, Clay, you mentioned something there that I couldn't catch. But in the law for towns, there's no mention of strong or weak mayor one way or the other, is there? So
No.
what is,
Those are, what I would call just like, I hate the word layperson because has a negative connotation. I really don't mean it that way. But
Yeah.
those are nicknames for different forms of government that are recognized in statute and referendum laws in Colorado, which those are not the legal terms, which is why it's hard to find research on.
what is the legal term?
I think that, don't quote me on this because I'm not looking at the statute, but it's, there's mayor, I think it's mayor, council, and council manager hyphenated terms. I'll have to look it up. But if you want me to spend, like I said, if you want me to spend time on it, I'm happy to, I'm happy to look into it. I know one is council manager, and then I think the other one is mayor council. Effectively, the latter being that the mayor acts as the chief executive officer, much like an administrator, with all hiring and firing, basically like a state governor, but for the town. And that's not how all but 4 of cities and towns operate within, statutory cities and towns operate within Colorado. So, and then the other form is what we are running as of now, which is, council manager form of government, wherein the council decides and appoints. But again, don't hold my feet to the fire in those exact terms. I can, if you want me to, I can produce a memo as well that explains this to the board so that when this question comes up, you can refer to that.
I'm in agreement with Clayton, which is I think it would be nice to have some clarity. I agree with everything he said. The terminology that I've used was rough. It's not accurate. So I'm in agreement with your attorney.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you for everything. We are adjourned, aren't we?
We need a motion.
I thought we had a motion.
You asked for it, but you didn't get it.
Okay, I think a motion to adjourn. You, so move, and I second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed.
That consensus adjourned.
Thanks,
everybody.
Do consensus. Thanks a lot.
Paul?